How young is too young to let your children roam free? You're about to meet parents whose style is either relaxed or dangerous, depending on whom you ask. They encouraged independence even if other parents disapproved. But then a walk home went awry, and now police are involved. Here's ABC's David Wright.
For Rafi and Devorah Maytiv, stranger danger this weekend didn't mean a confrontation with a gang member or a bully or, God forbid, a child molester. It meant another run-in with the police. He's 10, she's 6. This was their third recent encounter with law enforcement. Their crime, walking home from the neighborhood playground by themselves. Their mom and dad apparently defying an order from Child Protective Services not to let them do that anymore.
CPS has finally succeeded in making me terrified to let my kids out unsupervised because I'm afraid they're going to take them away. I never was scared of strangers.
Rafi and Devorah are what's known as free-range kids. Their parents believe in trusting their kids and the community. So they give Rafi and Devorah the freedom to roam outside the parental safety net. The problem is that's illegal in Maryland.
The law is that children should not be left alone, but in confined areas such as a house, a school, or a motor vehicle. They don't really address what happens if you leave a child alone outside of the home, school, or confined area.
Maryland Child Protective Services recently found the Maytivs responsible for unsubstantiated child neglect after a similar trip home from this park, which is a little more than a mile from their home in suburban Silver Spring, Maryland. Danielle Maytiv says this weekend the kids had agreed to come home by 6 p.m., but they were late, so the parents got worried. We have been searching for the kids for hours, she posted to Facebook.
It occurred to us that the police might have picked them up.
Later, she says she learned that the kids stopped to pet a dog and that the dog owner called 911. She says local police held the kids in the back of a cruiser for 2.5 hours while they contacted Child Protective Services.
After sitting in the car for 2.5 hours, he said, okay, I'm going to bring you home. And instead, he brought us here.
Here was Child Protective Services, which held them a further 6 hours, all the while with no access to food, according to the parents, until mom and dad agreed to follow a safety plan, essentially not letting them out of their sight when they're not at school.
Let's look again, Jack, said Annie.
The parents say the kids didn't get home until almost midnight on a school night.
Is this a one-off, or have you heard other stories?
You know how Nancy Grace hears all the stories about kidnapping and horrible things? I hear all the people who have been arrested for letting their kids play outside, walk to school, spend a day in the park. No parent should have to go through that at all for trusting their child, their community, and their own parenting.
Lenore Skenazy is one of the champions of free-range parenting.
Well, tell me, what aren't you allowed to do?
We aren't allowed to play in the backyard alone.
She has her own show on the Discovery Life Network, a channel that happens to be based in Silver Spring. The show, World's Worst Mom, is about shooting holes in the rationale for helicopter parenting.
The concept is that I go to families that are extremely nervous and overprotective, and I find out all the things the kids are not allowed to do.
Don't feed me.
And then I say, okay, so we're going to have you walk to school and have an overnight and learn how to use a knife. And I lock the parents in their house, and I send the kids out to do things on their own.
Do your friends think you're crazy?
Skenazy puts her money where her mouth is. We first met her in 2009 after she let her son Izzy ride the New York City subway alone. Izzy was 9 then. He's 17 now.
And you turned out okay?
Yeah, I'm alive. After I got home, I was ecstatic. I felt like I was on top of the world.
After that trip, Izzy pushed the boundaries further. He says the scariest thing he encountered as a free-range kid was the police.
So he's been stopped by the police 3 times since
Yeah.
last scene?
Yeah,
not for anything bad.
Yeah, no, but once I got pulled over by the same cop twice.
And the cop said, what if you were kidnapped? And I mean, maybe I'm remembering this wrong. And Izzy said, well, there's a ton of people on the train. I'm going to be fine. The cop said, what if there's 2 kidnappers? I loved Izzy's comment, which is, aren't you supposed to save me?
The counter-argument is summed up in a murder case now playing out in a New York City courthouse. 6-year-old Aiton Pates disappeared in 1979 on his first day walking to the school bus stop alone. His mom waved goodbye to him that morning and never saw him again.
We just hope that they treat him nicely and get him back to us somehow.
The case spawned a national movement to help track down children who were abducted, putting their faces on milk cartons and allowing law enforcement to more easily share information. The anniversary of Aiden Pate's disappearance, May 25th, 1979, is now National Missing Children's Day. Only now is his alleged killer being brought to trial. Pedro Hernandez confessed in 2012 that he choked the boy to death after enticing him into a bodega by offering him a soda. Closing arguments took place today. The case will go to the jury tomorrow. Maryland toughened its laws in the wake of that case, and it's partly because of that the Child Protective Services there gives parents like the Mayteves such a hard time. Today, the Maryland CPS declined to comment on their case, but issued a statement noting protecting children is the agency's #1 priority and vowing to continue to work in the best interests of all children. But Danielle Mayteve insists the agency is pushing its mandate too far.
They made us sign a safety plan that says that we will not leave them unattended at all until they will follow up. And I'm not going to risk my kids being snatched again like this by CPS.
She insists that parents, not the police, are best positioned to know what their kids are capable of. In many communities, including Silver Spring, crime rates are at record lows. And the Mayteves point out they're just raising their kids the way they themselves were raised.
The people who say that it's dangerous and the world is different have frankly been watching too much TV.
Tonight, the family's lawyer issued a statement. The Mayteves are rightfully outraged by the irresponsible actions of Maryland CPS and the Montgomery County Police. We must ask ourselves how we reached a point where a parent's biggest fear is that government officials will literally seize our children off the streets as they walk in our neighborhood. Times have changed. Now these two kids are caught in the middle. I'm David Wright for Nightline in Washington.
Can children take care of themselves? Head to our Nightline Facebook page and let us know what you think of free-range parenting in the comments.